Welcome back to another exciting episode. I'm here again with Mikey Spivak. We got so much good energy and vibes and comments and feedback about our first episode where we talked about Mikey's story. Now we're going to go into a little bit more of what is working on yourself, what's a workshop, and how do I take that and integrate it into my life? Because Mikey's quite unique. He's taken the work from the workshop not just as an experience, but as a way of life. Here we are with Mikey Spivak. Thank you. Welcome back.
Yeah.
How you doing today?
Thanks for having me back. Great.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I love talking to you. I love having conversations with you. We just do this all the time, regularly, just one-on-one, and we come up with amazing ideas. So, people are listening in to our discussion. So we're really just talking to each other.
Yeah.
We're not talking to them.
No.
They're just listening. So I want to hear a little bit about what the workshop is from your perspective, from the outside in, coming into an experience, what it's all about for you, what it's all about for a regular man your age or someone who wants to work on themselves. What's it all about?
Yeah, it's a pretty heavy, big question. What is the workshop all about? I think the workshop, if I could sum it up in a paragraph or a sentence, I would say it's you coming and facing the thoughts and the beliefs that you normally don't want to think about. A lot of people say they're like, no, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to talk about that right now. It's like a lot of those things I think we bring up in this type of environment where it's safe and you're doing it in front of many other men at once. I think that's probably the most powerful part of the workshop is the fact that you're doing it in front of other men. I think there's a difference when you're doing maybe one-on-one coaching or you're doing one-on-one therapy. It's powerful, but you don't get that explosiveness. It was like I was actually talking to my friend the other day, and we were saying why a workshop could be so good for him because he was saying, I really want to go on one. I really want to go on one. And it's like he's 33 years old, and he has his beliefs that he's taken on since he was a young child. And he's now lived with those beliefs up until he's 33. Meaning, in order to, you can say, reprogram or change the paradigm of those beliefs, it's got to be a massive amount of energy. You can't just do one coaching session or one therapy session. You're going to probably have to do therapy for 5-10 years straight, maybe to fully get somewhere probably with that. But the amount of energy it takes to change that belief that was constructed, let's say 25 years ago, that's 25 years of energy. That's a lot of work. It doesn't just happen like that. So I think what's so powerful about the workshop is that you can come onto it. It's a 3-day, 4-day, 2-day experience, and it's so impactful. It's so powerful that you can literally change beliefs that you have believed and has lived inside your subconscious for 25 years or 30 years. I think that's the most powerful aspect is that you can hit that shift in 2-3 days when normally if you're doing one-on-one once a week or a group once a week, I don't know if you would get that explosiveness, transformation aspect that a workshop with 20, 30 men coming together, holding space, getting deep into it, I don't know if you can achieve the same results. So I think that was longer than a paragraph.
No, but you brought up some good points, and I want to pull out some of those points because I think they're very, very powerful points as you're mentioning. So there's the one aspect of, you said one-on-one, which no diss to one-on-one. People go to therapy. I think that's very good.
Yeah.
It's some nice maintenance work.
Yeah.
But one-on-one is this idea of this very, very tight closed container. Nobody even has to know that you're going to therapy.
No.
You could go to therapy, you're talking to this person. In general, the therapist sits on a level where they're above you, where they're the wise sage, so to speak, and you're down here with your problems, and you're going to them and just talking about your problems, hopefully working through them. I'm not saying this is all therapy, but in general, that's the way I've seen it work. Done a tremendous amount of therapy in my life, but so I'm speaking from experience. Then and come into real life after you go to a therapy session. And what's real life about? Well, nobody knows that I did that. So I sock it away as a part of my life, as a 1 hour experience a week, let's say, which represents less than 1% of your entire week.
Right.
And I go and I talk about my problems. And now I got to go back into the world and I got to face my problems.
Right.
You go into a workshop with other men. Here's two things that you were saying. You're a group of other men. There's about 20 or 30.
Yeah.
It's almost like that is kind of like what the world is about. Like if you go anywhere, you're facing 20, 30 men.
Right.
It's like a real live scenario. I'm going and I'm facing it. I'm getting vulnerable in front of other men who are all on the same level. We're doing this together. You're not up here and I'm down here.
Right.
We're all doing this in a circle together as one unit.
Right.
So two aspects that you mentioned is we're all on the same level. We feel a certain resonance, a certain understanding of what you're going through, what I'm going through. And generally speaking on a workshop, whatever you hear someone else share about, you're going to feel something within yourself about your life. There's a certain idea of, I know what this guy's going through. I get it.
Yeah.
And there's a divine energy that comes into that space that says, you need to see this because this is exactly what you need to work on.
Yeah.
And then I'm actually facing it in a real live scenario. Whereas in therapy, I'm not necessarily facing a real live scenario. It's very, very closed and socked away, like I said. So it ends up becoming almost like they say like a petri dish or a laboratory experiment for creating this nice, small, vulnerable container that I can go and help bring that back into the world, which is such a powerful aspect.
What about the real life scenario? Like, why can you achieve the real life scenario aspect in a workshop experience and not so much in a one-on-one?
Because you're witnessed by other people who are just like you.
Right.
And the power of the witnessing, the power of people being there without a degree and knowing better and just the human real experience, it catalyzes a potential for a tremendous amount of growth. Like you were saying, the energy, first of all, the other thing that you were saying is 3 days. Sit in something for once a week for a year, therapy sessions. By the way, this is not knock therapy. I just like...
No, we're not knocking therapy right now.
We're just comparing something over here.
Yeah.
Sit in something for once a week for 52 hours a year.
Right.
That's 52 weeks, 1 hour a week, okay? You go to a workshop, it's 3 days, that's 72 hours. You're sitting in an experience for 72 hours. To me and to a lot of people that I know, they would say it's a year and a half of therapy in one weekend. When you're sitting in something immersed in that experience and you're literally, I tell people, I say, there's one thing that you will overcome this weekend. And this is a guarantee of mine. The one thing is you will overcome is social anxiety. That's 100% you will overcome social anxiety because you're being exposed to a socially anxious situation where I have to share something, but because we create such safety and because we create a sense of common human experience and resonance and understanding and listening and caring and love, I can realize that a lot of my social anxiety is just an internal experience that ends up getting hyper attention when I go into a real life scenario and I don't do anything about it, it just keeps on growing.
Right.
You go into that situation, your social anxiety is almost guaranteed to be overcome, at least deeply exposed to and deeply worked on.
Right. Yeah, because you're getting vulnerable in front of other men and you're witnessing them get vulnerable too.
And you realize everyone's struggling with a similar thing.
And it's like you can go in a workshop with guys who own $1 million business, $10 million, $100 million business, and you're dealing with similar problems, if not insane problems. Like I remember when I went on one of my first workshops, I was there with a guy who was very successful, and I couldn't believe what he was dealing with. I genuinely could not believe it. I remember before entering that space, like just when like orientation, I was so intimidated. Like the social anxiety came up. I was very, very much intimidated. And then the moment I see him get naked in front of me, it's like, whoa, Not physically,
emotionally
naked. Not physically naked, emotionally naked. But yeah, I think I think when you sum up what is a workshop experience, it's, I think, everything you've ever wished you've ever had your whole entire life in 3 days. And what that means is the people around you and you are able to get vulnerable with each other. And I think that's what everyone really wants in the end of the day, right? Instead of like acting like I'm something because I'm trying to be seen as someone or trying to feel worthy of something or I'm good enough of this. It's like we're all trying to put on these masks to hit a certain belief that we want to feel, but you go into this workshop, you don't have to do any of that. You just show up, you literally come to the table with everything that you've shunned away because that's not what's accepted, and then it becomes accepted. And you're doing it in front of guys that are not just like your regular Joe Schmoes, like the people that are there working on themselves are guys who are playing big in life and have families or fathers or have businesses or want to start a business or have a really good job, or even if they don't have any of that, it's like we're all coming to the table and we're the same once we get into that circle. And I think that's probably one of the most powerful parts of the workshop that I don't think actually gets talked about too much publicly. I think it gets talked about by like a lot of people out there on social media, but like when people ask like what is a workshop, it's like how do you describe it?
Yeah, it's like over the years, I can't get it out of my head. This name, workshop, because people like don't like
the name workshop.
That name workshop, like retreat or whatever it is. But I think it's just a space for men to come and just confront things that they need to confront, because everyone needs to confront things. We have to admit that life is about confronting things. Anything you're avoiding or you're reacting to are things that are unworked through. And I was the guy that when someone told me to go on a workshop, I was like, hey buddy, I don't need to go on a workshop. I literally don't need to go on a workshop. I'm in a good place in my life. I had good parents. I had a good upbringing. Yeah,
you're perfect.
And I thought it was this for all these messed up guys that had like this crazy trauma growing up. And as soon as I had the chance to come on a workshop for my first time and just sit in whatever it is, like the first step was, okay, I got to fill out an application. In the application, they ask you all sorts of questions, and questions that you probably don't think about on a daily basis. You probably don't even realize, like, it's like, these are like fantasy questions. Like, what would you want your life to be like? Or tell me a little bit about your childhood. Like, who thinks about their childhood in their adult life? You're facing life, you got responsibilities, you don't have time for this stuff. So I started with the application, like, they're like, do you remember any significant stories of your childhood? I didn't say traumatic, not just significant stories. And I was like, actually I do. Sorry about that. My throat, I just was joking beforehand. But so I remember the story. It was crazy. I just started writing. I don't know where it came from. And I remember I was a 3-year-old kid. Or 4-year-old kid. And I was in my backyard in my house. It was on Hidden Trail. This was
Hidden Trail.
That was where I lived. We moved from that street because someone got shot on the street. It was like ridiculous. My parents like, see you later. We moved to like a safer area. But I'm in the backyard and I went to the shed. My parents told me, you're not allowed to go to the shed. It was a tool shed. And I go to the tool shed and I open the door and this spade, the shovel, big spade shovel, falls into my head. Literally falls into the back of my head. And it like sticking in my head. Like it lodged into my head and then it fell. And I'm screaming in pain. And my mother says, what happened? What happened? Of course, I'm not going to tell that I went in the shed. I said, oh, my brother Mike threw this ball and it hit me in the head or something. Like I don't even know. I was 4 years old. I made up a stupid story. And so she takes this towel, she wraps it over my head, she takes me to the hospital, and all I remembered was screaming for my father. wanted my father.
Mm.
My mother was there. She was like trying to make, but I needed my father. I needed that strength. I needed that. I needed that love. I needed that presence. I needed him to be there for me.
Interesting.
So that's the story I remembered. I wrote it down in my application. I didn't know why I wrote it down. And then I come to the workshop and I'm sitting in the space, and this is after a whole day of trying to understand things differently, struggles that you're having in life, and discovering how belief systems are created and unresolved emotions. Like, these are new concepts for me because I mostly numbed my emotions for a good chunk of my life.
Yeah.
Not even knowing that was a bad thing or whatever, just it was what people did.
Okay.
And I get to this space and it's my turn to go.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, "Close your eyes." I close my eyes. I take a deep breath. And he's like, "What's going on for you?" I don't feel loved. And he's like, why don't you feel loved? Going into it. And that story popped up again. And I remembered that my father's, and just a preface, because this is not to shame him or anything, but he was a very, my father did everything he possibly could. I really believe that, and he still does till this day. He's still very involved in his kids' lives.
Yeah.
It's very unique, very special. His expression of love was harder. So when he would tell me, "I love you," I would immediately cry. Like, immediately. He wrote me a letter once on Yom Kippur, a number of years, and he wrote, "I love you, I want to spend time with you." And I would cry from that letter. Right before Yom Kippur, I wasn't there at my house. I was in university. He told me, "I love you." It's like 5 times that he told me in my life that he loves me. And I would cry. And why was I crying is because I so much wanted to know that he loves me, that I would be able to know that I'm lovable. And that was my process, is going into that wound that I didn't even know existed, but when I had the time to face it and just sit with it and be in a space to explore myself, I realized that I've been walking around with a belief based on my childhood experience without even knowing, and without even my father doing anything crazy bad to me. I'm not lovable. And what happens when I think and I believe that I'm not lovable, which is something I'm not consciously aware of, I start looking for love from the world, and sometimes in the wrong places.
Right.
Because I, as a little boy, to face the fact that my father doesn't love me and I'm not lovable is the scariest thing in the world. So I have to go ahead and prove to myself that I'm lovable to not feel that pain. And as a child, I can't make sense of the fact that just because my father says 5 times in my life, "I love you," that he loves me. I can't make sense of it. A child is black and white. If I don't hear it, I don't know it. So for me, at least, it's not for everyone. That's just my unique story and what I felt that I was missing.
Why was it so scary to face that pain? Because you didn't get your father wasn't there, then you believed that, and then that created a wound. But then why did it be, what created it to be so scary to face that wound?
Because as a child, I need to be knowing that my entire existence, which is where I come from, my mother and my father, that they're literally my creators, and then they end up becoming the creators of my identity. Because they're my primary caregivers. They're the most influential people in my life.
Right.
So from those people, they're going to set the stage for how I relate to the entire world. That's like the incubator.
Gotcha.
If a child grows up and thinks, for whatever reason, that he's not lovable from his parents, that is too emotionally painful to face. And if the child doesn't feel that he has space to open up to that and share that with his parents, or cry about that in front of his parents, he stuffs it inside. He stuffs it inside and just doesn't want to deal with it. It's too much. It's too excruciatingly painful for me to actually feel that and know that. So then I start this survival identity in that moment.
Right.
By not feeling the feeling and expressing it and working it through with my parents, I start going into this survival mode of, I need to find love right now. I need to go out and find love. So then I'll need to go and do things that people will say, "Oh my gosh, you're so amazing."
So before you go out to the world to get that love, before that happens, if your parents, let's say, if your parents gave you that space to share what was going on for you,
Yeah.
you could have had that space to essentially express it and almost release it, and then they could tell you how to deal with it and teach you how to process it, essentially.
100%. The trauma or the hardship for a person is mostly not based on what they experience. It's how they processed it after they experienced it. So if they had a healthy space that they could talk to and express their feelings and work through it,
Right.
they would come back to themselves, and it would just be, a tough moment. But that moment, because it was never dealt with and it
Get
was
released.
excruciatingly painful,
Uh-huh.
got frozen in time in my body.
Mm.
And that's why when I was filling out the application, that story
It
came,
came
up.
up, yeah.
Why? Because by divine providence,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm going into an experience to work on myself and to be a better person,
Yeah.
my subconscious is waiting for that day,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is 10% of who I am, my conscious mind, what I think about, what I see every day, 65,000 thoughts a day, 65 to 80,000 thoughts a day
Mm-hmm.
are on 80% repeat,
Mm-hmm.
even up to 90% these days.
Yeah.
And the bulk of who I am is in my subconscious, which is leading my experience. It's leading my life. So what happens is because it gets stored in the body, the only way to work on it and become aware of it is be
Yeah.
willing to face those feelings that I didn't want to face so many years ago.
Right.
So all of a sudden I create a space. I say, I'm ready to face those feelings. And my subconscious says, okay, he's ready to go out of a level of needing to survive. And I can introduce to him a concept. I can introduce to him a frozen moment, a story, a trauma, an unprocessed emotion. And then starts the process. So I didn't just write on the application because it was the first thing I remembered. It's literally the thing that my body, who stores all the wisdom of my whole life, everything's here. It knows everything that happened in my whole life. My brain doesn't want to know that because it has to survive and focus on what's in the world and what's going on and everything.
Right.
But it pushed it up and it said, okay, he's ready to face it. So it does it in a light way. It starts as a memory. And then as I'm going into that experience, it gets deeper and I see it more and I see it more until that feeling that needed to be faced back then, which is excruciatingly painful, I could let go to it. And what happened was one tear. The tear came out, and then just from that tear, just from touching that emotion on that workshop, I realized I've been walking around with a belief system and a story about myself that I'm not lovable. And I was literally getting hurt by people and not letting people into relationship because I felt that, I could be exposed again to that wound, which is I'm not lovable. So I was always looking for love, maybe sometimes in the wrong places, like I said. And instead of being a man to my wife, I was actually looking for my wife to give me the love that I felt that I never received in my childhood. So now she became somewhat of a parent identity for me. And if she didn't give me that, then I was angry at her, which is I was really angry or sad with my parents or with my father in that situation. But I was projecting it onto my current relationship with my wife.
Right.
And really, before my first workshop, I was suffering in silence. That's the truth. I didn't feel connected to myself. I didn't feel connected to my life, my wife, my kids, and in a real way, because I was only connected to areas of where I could experience love, and where I couldn't, I had to shut down because that was my coping mechanism to not have to deal with the pain of thinking that I'm not loved, believing that I'm not loved.
Yeah.
So me in an unhealthy way, if my wife would have triggered me back then,
you would.
I wouldn't look at her. I wouldn't talk to her for
You would just
24 hours,
disassociate.
2 days, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was literally a coping mechanism because I needed to do that in order to survive, because I felt like facing that feeling was death.
Right. Wow.
And
So deep.
if your creator doesn't want you, if my father doesn't want me, let's say, and this is really not about him, it's about how I process reality, which becomes your unique story about life.
Yeah.
If I would have faced that pain, from my father thinking that my father doesn't love me, well, I don't want to exist anymore. That's death to me. That's death. I don't want to exist.
Yeah.
If my creator doesn't want me, I don't want to live. So to face that feeling could feel like death.
It's so interesting that it literally happened from just a small moment of you going into the shed. And I think that's a testimony to, like, you can work on yourself and you don't need a crazy traumatic experience. Like, a trauma can be just as small as that. I think that's also a big thing. Like you mentioned, like, people who think they don't need to go in a workshop, they're like, oh, well, I didn't have any crazy trauma. You know, I had a pretty normal childhood. You know, I played games, I had friends, I went to school. Yeah, you know, my parents screamed at me here and there. They didn't take me to the sports, or they didn't, you know, tell me the things I needed to hear. But no, I'm good. You know, life's good. Everything's fine. But trauma is not what's the word? It's not a certain, like, specific certain circumstance. Like, you don't need to get into a freak accident, or you don't need to lose a parent to have trauma, or you don't need to have something so extreme to have trauma. Like, trauma literally could be something very small. It's just a wound. It's literally just a belief, and it could literally create your whole trajectory of where you're going in life just from a small experience of literally your father not coming to the hospital with you.
Trauma is a broken connection.
That's all it is.
It's, if you want to break it down, it's
like, let's simplify it for all the people that are watching who think that maybe they have an issue, but maybe it's not so serious. But it is all very serious, and it's all very real, because it doesn't matter. There's no, I would say trauma is not a scale, or maybe it's not a spectrum. Maybe you hear what I'm saying. Like, it's not good, better, best. It's all one equal line.
It's according to your destiny, and it's according to who you are, and that's why it's like, if you don't realize that everyone's going through something, then you're going to be insensitive to other people's pain.
Right.
Because what one person can handle as pain is not necessarily what another person can handle as pain.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like a loser in a certain sense, because, like, what bad thing did I have? Like, okay, so my father, you know, didn't tell me I love you so much, and I go into these workshops and you see this crazy amount of pain, like, beyond the stories that we hear, you know.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there's just guys that, you know, want to explore themselves and go deeper.
Yeah.
But everyone has a unique story, and we have to resonate to it. It's like last night, my son was freaking out. He's 10 years old, because he got these little money coins from his Rebbe in school, his teacher in school. And, you know, you can use them towards prizes. And he's freaking out because he didn't have them and he couldn't find them. But it was like, it was so late. And I'm like, you just got to go to bed already. And then I was starting to, like, wanting to control to get him into bed. And I just stopped, because I literally caught myself yesterday. Thank you, Hashem. I breathed into my body.
Yeah.
And I said, get into his level. Go to his space where he's at. Realize that this trauma or this intense emotion could become a trauma if you tell him to stop what he's doing. But be with him in his feeling and see what the feeling needs. See what the feeling needs. The feeling needs, okay, so I went over to him. I sat down next to him on the bed. Okay, let's retrace your steps. Let's talk about this for a second. Let's go into, where did you have it last? And then I started searching around the house for a little bit, and I was like, okay, listen, it's 5 more minutes that he's going to be. And I felt myself, like, feeling the trigger, because I also wanted to go to bed. So I was aware of the trigger. And then he ended up finding him. But he wasn't left with something that was unprocessed there, because his father got him. He was there with him, and there was no trauma. Trauma is the broken connection. Broken from what? The feelings that need to be experienced in any given moment. So I had to stop feeling in a moment in order to survive, which is, now, let's say you get bullied in school and you come back home and go to your mother, hey, I got bullied in school. And the trauma of the bully, so to speak, is that I believed I was a loser when I got beat up by the bully. When I come home, because now I'm like left with this unprocessed feeling. I need to do something with that feeling, which is where the trauma is going to live, is the unprocessed feelings, the broken connection to myself and to my experience of life. So I come back home, I go to my mother and I say, hey, I got bullied. She lets me break down and cry or get angry and scream and holds me and says, hey, that's so hard. That was so tough. I just want to let you know you are not a loser. You're an amazing kid. And I'm so sorry that that happened to you, not denying the experience, but just I'm so sorry that happened to you. And you can come back to your goodness. The feeling was felt. I work through it and I come back to me.
Yeah.
That's just like a simple moment. And these simple moments are happening all the time. But
all the time.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you don't realize that everyone needs to go through a trauma, because the ultimate trauma is the broken connection that we have to ourselves, that we all go through, which causes the process of becoming yourself. You need to lose yourself to become yourself. You need to lose yourself to find yourself. And the ultimate broken connection that we have in this world and in life is the connection between us and Hashem. That's the original trauma of the world, where Hashem said, we're in connection, we're in relationship, and I'm going to be out of relationship. And what's the first thing that happens to the baby when the baby's born? The baby cries.
The disconnect, yeah.
Because you feel the disconnection. That's with my mother, that's with God. That broken connection, the trauma, the things that I need to face and realize, end up becoming my path to finding myself and coming back to myself.
Yeah. Hashem is God, to the people listening.
Yeah, Hashem is God. God broke the connection.
Yeah.
He put us in the world, and we have to come back to who we really are, which is we're servants of God. We're here on a mission.
So trauma is supposed to be there.
Trauma is part of the process. If you don't face that you have trauma in your life, you haven't started living yet.
So basically, if you think you have no trauma, you're you're off the deep end, or
let's not make it such a big word. Let's just say, if you have any moment in your life that you didn't process your feelings in a healthy way,
there we go.
And today you have survival coping mechanisms, like you shut down a relationship, you get angry, you run to your addiction, cigarettes, drinking, smoking weed, whatever it is that you're doing. If you're finding yourself out of control of how you eat, and there's like, those are the clues of the things I don't have in control in my life, that like I'm out of control, are those signs.
Or you feel like you need to be in control.
Are all signs of a trauma that lives in your body that's playing itself out in a dysfunctional way because you're coping. So what every man needs to know, and the process can start as early as you want it. For some people it's different. Like when I made the first radical change of my life, was the first time that I really experienced death, because death wakes you up to life. There you have to confront everything. It's like, what matters, what doesn't. Like, it's like right in your face.
What does every man need to know?
Every man needs to know purpose and what they're here for and who they really are. Like, those are all connected. And so you have these moments sometimes that are gifts but not gifts. Death, like my Zadie passing away, my grandfather passing away. It was a gift, not a gift, because it redirected me. And then ultimately, when I became religious, it was when my grandmother had a stroke. So that like made me face reality. And all those times where I had to face things, confront things, that's the theme, really facing it, going into a workshop, facing it. Stop talking about what you think your life is about and start giving space to what actually is, and getting into a relationship with yourself. Because when you're living from here, you're only playing with 10% of the experience. This is the 90%. This is what really guides. This is the motherboard. This is the programming. This is what says I can or can't do. You know, sometimes people, like, they want to lose weight, and then for 2 weeks they're good, and right after that it's gone. Because it's a hustle in your mind, and you're working against this, and you're working 10% versus against 90%. This is what drives it, the feelings, what makes me passionate and in love and want to go conquer things. Like, the power lives inside the body. Yeah.
A lot of people live like that. You know, they do like quick, short stints. Oh, I'm going to start the business. I'm going to do quick 1 week, or even a year of doing business is nothing. 2 years of doing business, or even, hey, I'm going to go to the gym for a quick month, or I'm going to start something quick, and then it stops eventually.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that I know, including myself.
Well, no, let's talk about this, because 7 years you've been consistently, or at least involved in working on yourself, or put yourself in a position to
And
be on
there's
other workshops.
Yeah.
And, lead men's groups.
Lead groups, lead workshops,
and
staff.
step into a certain vibrational existence. You upgraded your existence.
Yeah.
Started believing in yourself.
Yeah.
So talk about what that journey's been like for you.
Me believing in myself.
Saying last 7 years, how you bring this work into your life, and how you make it real for yourself, and why you continue to do work on yourself.
So, because we don't have that much time, the story's gonna be long.
You're
But
gonna
gonna
hit him another cliffhanger.
We're gonna have to save that for the next one. But I think the journey of me believing in myself was, yes, it was many years, and I'm still working on it to this day. The story keeps coming up. The same story that I went into when I was 18 is still coming up now, which is actually very interesting when I have a lot of people that come to me, or even myself at one point was saying, yeah, I'm healed. It's good, I processed the feeling's gone, boom, squeezed out in the garbage. But I don't think that's reality. Because it still will always come up and remind you, and it's supposed to remind you, and it's actually helpful that it reminds me. Why? Because it humbles me, it brings me back. My ego doesn't get too inflated, and it shows me that, hey, there's still always more to work on. So by me believing in myself essentially is always being worked on. I don't think that has ever stopped. I think there's a point to where I just hit the next level in myself where I'm like confident in what I can deliver. And I got a lot clearer on what my strengths are. And part of that was getting in touch with who I am, which was getting in touch with the feelings that essentially is my power. So a lot of that had to do with being in reality. I had a lot of good friends, including you, my brothers, in a crucial point of my life where I was clinging on to you or other people for my internal belief in myself, right? Like if I was getting the validation from external people, then I would feel good about myself. And in the moment where that stopped, and I actually didn't have that relationship with those people.
Let's talk about it right here. No, I'm
when I
serious.
didn't have that relationship with you.
So what happened?
We essentially we stopped hanging out. You were going through a lot of things in your life. I was going through a lot of things in my life. I was out of integrity in a lot of ways. I wasn't really showing up to the standard of how you were living and a lot of other people were living, and I was saying a lot of things and I wasn't doing it, and it was just it was all over the place. I was pretty much just not operating from a place of.
And there was a disconnection.
Yeah, there was a disconnection. Yeah, there was.
So when there was a disconnection, that was a moment where you can reevaluate the relationship. That's a very powerful part in relationship, where you feel disconnected from the other person.
Yeah.
You feel disconnected from yourself.
Yeah.
And, however I was approaching the relationship, there was triggers. So there was obviously stuff that I needed to see and work on.
Yeah, we were triggering
and
each other
we separated from each other, and then we grew into our own path that we need to grow into. And now we're back in relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, which is actually very, very interesting, because that separation, essentially, in a relationship, it was like we stopped talking. And then I remember my internal moment was, okay, the one person who believed in me when I was 18 is now, we're not talking anymore. So who's going to believe in me now? And then that's when the light bulb moment kicked in for me, which was, okay, now it's time for me to believe in myself. It's time for me to actually carry myself through this journey. Because in reality, the only person that I have, the only thing that I have is me and God. There's really nothing else. So that was the moment where my connection to myself was like, okay, we're going full force here. And there's nothing else that's going to get in the way because I got you. And that was the moment where it hit. And that was around like 21, 22, right? So talking about the belief always coming up again, like I worked through that when I was 18 and I felt it, but it took 3 years to actually process and like individualize and like get into my body. Literally a 3-year process, but it started at 18. You know, the tin can opened. You know,
And the work that you do in life is to stay and know that feeling and that belief in your body, which to me, what I'll say, and this is a little bit of a secret to people that think you come on a workshop and you get healed, or you go to therapy and you get healed, is as long as you're in this world, you need to be working on yourself, because there's, going back to the original trauma of the world, is as long as we have this thing where we don't feel God in our lives, or we feel separate from who we really are and what our essence is, there's work to do. Because you got to create that feeling. And he made it that way, which is so powerful, because what happened at the end of the story is that if I wouldn't have disconnected from you, wouldn't have disconnected from each other, you would never be able to believe in yourself.
Yeah, I wouldn't
have.
So
the pain of the disconnection, which is the trauma, ends up becoming your greatest moment of discovery.
Moment. Yeah, exactly. So for the people who think they don't have anything to work on,
like myself,
you're not like being like wounded or disconnected or trauma, whatever. All these words, it's actually your superpower. Yeah. So the trauma or the wound that you were given ends up becoming, that was my superpower, essentially. That entire disconnection from self, starting from when I was a boy to when I was 18 to 22 to now. And it showed me what my gifts are.
And the more you sit with it and confront it, the more you get to know this motherboard, and you start really actualizing the infinite, amazing being that you are.
Yeah, I probably would not even close to have believed in myself to start a business and take on this wild journey of now I'm leading people in a company and I'm influencing other people and people are now looking up to me. It was like, you look at me like 5 years ago, there's just, this guy is lost. Like there's no there's no coming back home, you know. I would sleep through my biggest presentations. I would not show up to the things that mattered to me the most. Like I didn't want to live. Like I didn't have the desire to wake up alive and go after it and go with purpose and passion. I didn't feel that because I wasn't feeling my feelings, essentially. I wasn't feeling the things that I was shunning away. So that moment was me essentially becoming, like that moment was like either, okay, make or break it. Either you're going to believe in yourself and you're going to actually like action it, integrate it, or you're going to go right back to what you were living for the last 21 years of your life. It was like, that was the moment. That was the moment.
Yeah.
And it had to be that painful for me to make that decision. So the pain had to be that intense for me at that point. And it was super intense. I remember thinking everything I just did is gone. It's out the window. It was like a make or break it moment. That's how it felt. That's how I was thinking about it. And I'm like, okay, we're going to go. There's no one that's going to stop me. Okay, cool. I just want to be in a relationship. Well, I'm going to show myself that I want to be in a relationship with myself. And then I'm going to go for it. And then I went. And ever since then, it's been pretty unstoppable. And I feel like I don't need a relationship. Now the relationship's coming from a place of I'm choosing it. I want it.
So the relationship goes through pain and it becomes stronger because of the choice. It's a real valued mutual relationship. And that's why you can have like a 25-year-old with a 41-year-old being in a relationship. We could be at totally different wavelengths of life, but we can get each other, which shows the common thread between all of existence is really, as this whole world exists, we really are just all one. And we're on one mission. It's like we have to learn how to be on the same mission.
We have to learn that we're all on the same mission. Yeah.
And how we do that is really your superpower, your greatness is inside of you. It exists. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that it comes out is, unfortunately for a lot of people, is facing the pain of whatever survival and coping mechanisms you've built all these years.
Mm-hmm.
So to get to my greatness, I got to go through the pain, and that's the process. But
so pain is there for you to get to where
pain to purpose.
Pain to purpose, yeah, literally.
That's it.
So the pain is not a negative thing. The pain's actually a really positive thing.
Yeah. So in the end of the day, it's for everyone.
It is for everyone.
That's the secret.
That's the secret.
To be continued.
We landed. Amazing.